Okay, y'all, this is a night edition of the Front Porch Stoop speeches. I wanted to take a look at Shane Scott's post, excuse me, his allergies are horrible, his political push card. Guys, here comes the candidate, Shane Scott. I do. First of all, I shudder every time I see Scales, that Daniel Scales. Y'all have all heard the story in town. If you haven't, please indulge me to tell you a wonderful screenplay which is called My Life. I want to start off here. This is what the activists in the 60s called the underbelly of the beast, is this whole notion of utility rates. Shane Scott, when you tell the public that you fight it against higher utility rates, and then you say you voted against higher utility rates and fought for the implementation of a stabilized rate structure, that is untrue on two levels. Number one, your exorbitant travel, the fat cat traveling that you're doing, Mr. Scott, that comes out of the general fund. Where does that come from? Our utility bill. Secondly, you cannot vote against utility implementation and for stabilization. The reason why the other council members voted for that, of which I spoke against, but I understand why they did it, that's why I let it go, I let things go sometimes, was because in the long term, it will keep the rates down. I think it's faulty logic, but unfortunately, this is a complete falsehood. Now, he says community services, I've worked to increase funding for the city services while ensuring a balanced budget, such as what, Shane? You've done nothing. You barely even mumble a word when you're up there. This is my favorite. His job creation. Yes, he has strongly supported the wealthy 1%, the same people, and I want to apologize to Mr. Arredondo. Your name's not Frankie, it's Frank E. So Frankie and you both support the top 1%. Moreover, you were on the board to approve them funding. At first, you played a little shenanigan where you wanted to cut funding, and then you wanted to increase funding. You are a game player, not a game changer. Now let's flip over the political pushy card, and we could see the photos. The same inexperienced candidate who had never shown up to the mic during city council ever in his life before he was elected asked me when he got there. When he was elected, he asked me what I was doing up at City Hall, and I want to say, darling, I've been up there since 1988. I'm not sure about these endorsements. He's an incumbent. That's probably why. I'm running for re-election because we must continue to build a strong and growing economy. You have not protected anything for our citizens. In fact, you voted, Mr. Shane Scott, shame on you for Capes Camp. You are not an all-star at all, sir. That's all I have to say. San Marcos, think very closely who you vote for. This man also voted for the retreat, which was the huge pool party that made national news. It had used all the available law enforcement personnel. So when he says he was endorsed by the Professional Firefighters Association and the Police Officers Association, his very vote cast for rezoning of that specific development took all of our resources of our law enforcement out to that retreat, and those were dangerous conditions. All those kids, that was a mob-style party. There was alcohol and booze, and I encourage the public to do a little bit of research of what went on at that party.
Promoters estimate they drew 2,000 people to the event, more than double the pool's capacity. Problem was, management didn't have a permit.
They didn't apply for the permit.
According to Assistant Police Chief Chase Stapp, that also meant no safety plan.
Anytime you get that many people together and there aren't the proper safety measures in place to deal with that size crowd, it can be a disaster waiting to happen.
Neighbors in the area started calling to complain about the noise and about partiers parking up their street. At one point, the party got so big, it nearly took every on-duty officer in the city to shut it down.
You can't always say all's well that ends well, because next time it may not end well.
He also voted for the Bowie Track rezoning, which is what we know now as Capstone Cottages. That place was a flop house. I had to report them over and over again. Oh, that was cool. Okay, hold on a second. Over and over again for the floppy construction. They had like, They had insulation like laying around through the ceiling and that getting molded, and they just probably put it up. So shame, I want to say shame, shame, shame on you. These are all falsehoods, and you're misleading the public, and you haven't been a true steward of our community. Ticker tape parade. Ooh, this is good cardstock, y'all. Oh, he's got some money.